Hello everyone, Whoopmaster here with another one of my Me and Threadcast episodes, and this one is really hard to talk about because I'm talking today about the Super Mario Galaxy and Super Mario Galaxy 2 bundle. I've tried and tried to record this video a couple times at this point, and after I finally stopped dragging my feet and started recording the video, but what can I say about Super Mario Galaxy and Super Mario Galaxy 2? They're two of the greatest platformers of all time. Like they're really where Super Mario 3D games got their footing, and you know, it's just like, what do I say about them? Like for my experience in the past with them, I Galaxy 1 was like one of the first games I got with my Wii, and that was one of the first games I really actively tried to beat. Because before that point, like I'd play Pokemon and maybe get to the Elite Four. I would just, but otherwise it was just stuff like I'd play Mario Kart on rentals, or I'd play Smash Brothers on rentals. I would play, through to like a couple worlds in for games like Mario 64, Donkey Kong 64. I just didn't really play games to beat them, but something with Galaxy clicked with me, and I just couldn't help myself. I had to get to the end, and like that felt like such a big challenge for me because I was not really good at video games when I got Galaxy. And then Galaxy 2, I was just so excited for that when that was like a thing that was announced because, Galaxy 1 was the first game I ever really fell in love with. And, now I beat games, I play games to the credits, and it's no big deal, but like these games really stuck with me for that very reason. And then, there's just nowadays, and like it was a snowy day, like in January, which, it wasn't a rainy day, but it was a snowy day when I had eShop money, and it was like, I am really craving playing the Galaxy games again. So I got the Galaxy games on Switch too, so I could play them with all new, the updated graphics and the new story content in Galaxy 2's new storybook. And I guess I can just like compare the games, a little bit, because like that's about all I can do to explain why I think, because like they're just both 10 out of 10 platformer games because they just both feel really good to play. And it's kind of impressive because as time has gone on, I've really come to appreciate 3D platformers where you have this big wide open sandbox. Like not every game needs to be open world, but like I really appreciate when, you have just big expansive levels to just run around in and collect stuff in, marking off a checklist. And, that's why a game like Donkey Kong Bonanza really resonated with me. And why Super Mario Odyssey, even if I'm a bit more lukewarm on it nowadays, just because I feel like, you know, it's more needle in a haystack rather than, Bonanza giving you much better tools to find what you're looking for, you know. But that's all off topic. That's on the topic of 3D platformers as a whole. But like, yeah, like even something like Odyssey, it's still a fantastic game. But like something like Galaxy and Galaxy 2, it's still pretty unmatched, even though it's basically just like, the 3D land, 3D world model of having an end of the stage goalpost to reach before 3D Land and 3D World did that. And, that's the interesting part of it. But, like, first off, there's the story, and it's the same in both. But Galaxy 1 definitely wins out for, the 3D, for the Galaxy stories because Galaxy 1's story just does way better with being so much more cinematic. Because, like, even nowadays, like not just for its time, even nowadays, that scene where where Mario is just peacefully going to visit Peach on the night of the Star Festival, and then everything goes south so quickly, where all of these meteors are raining down, an armada of airships is there, Bowser comes in, breaks apart the clouds with the lightning, and then the spaceship rips Peach's castle out of the ground, and Mario, as he's struggling to gain his bearings, gets launched into space. It's just really impressive for, something like Mario, but, you know, still, like, it's impressive how cinematic this game is compared to a lot of Nintendo's games. Because not a lot of Nintendo's games go for, like, this cinematic of a, you know, like, opening, or at least not Mario games. And then, I gotta give it to Galaxy 2, because, like, they have a good theming going with it being, told like a storybook, but with Galaxy 2, it's just like Mario's going to the castle, he sees, Bowser's causing trouble, and Bowser's a giant, and then you just, you go after him, and that's the end of it. And, like, Giant Bowser isn't like a super crazy thing on its own, because Bowser has changed sizes so many times. So, like, a Bowser that's way bigger than normal is, you know, it's not as exciting. And then, Galaxy 1 and Galaxy 2, for the level themes, like, Galaxy 1s are way more nostalgic for me because I've played that game so much that, like, all those level themes and, the levels themselves are kind of like burned into my head as, like, very notable Mario levels. And Galaxy 2's, on the other hand, I do appreciate, because they definitely get more of a Mario feel to them, because Galaxy 1 has, like, a very interesting space atmosphere, like, not without plenty of bubbly and bright areas, but Galaxy 2 has a lot more areas that feel, right out of Mario games, fit a more traditional Mario aesthetic. And, for both games, like with their gameplay, both games have, their fair share of highlights and lowlights for, the level themes. Because, like, you get something like Bonefin Galaxy, where it's just, you know, a big orb underwater with a boss fight in it. And then you get stuff like the Special World, which is a lot of, like, recycled stuff in Galaxy 2. But you also get stuff like, the Flip Galaxy and the Special World, which has the platforms that change based on when you spin. And, that's a way more interesting, it's like the evolution of the first time you deal with that mechanic in Galaxy 2. And then, you get something like the iconic Gusty Garden. It's like there's highs and lows. It's like I said, there's highs and lows to level six. Like, the gameplay, there's really nothing to compare outside of power-ups, which Galaxy 2 just blatantly does better, quite honestly, because, like, not only do you have Yoshi, who, while not a power-up in the traditional sense because he's a character, and it feels wrong to call him a power-up, Yoshi has his own power-ups, which get some interesting use here and there when they are used, like the Blimp Fruit, and the Dash Pepper, and the Bullberry. It's like, you get that, and you get the Cloud Flower, and you get the Rock Mushroom, and even the Drill whenever it gets used. Although, like, they definitely did right by the concept when they did the Drill Mushroom in Super Mario Wonder, but again, that's a side tangent for a completely different conversation. But, like, you have all those power-ups, and they're just really fun to use. And, Galaxy 1's power-ups, while they're not bad, they aren't as interesting as Galaxy 2's. Because, like, you have the Fire Flower, which was the first time they adapted the Fire Flower into 3D, where, like, the only problem that really has is the timer, because otherwise it's about, you know, how you'd expect a Fire Flower in 3D, because it's not too far off from, the Fire Flower in, like, 3D Land, 3D World, where you just throw a fireball it bounces around. But like you also have the ice flower, which, it's interesting, sure, but like they don't really use like the wall jumping off of waterfalls concept very much. There's not much to it other than just walking on water, being able to jump on water spouts. But like at that point, it's just a situational power up, and there's nothing to it outside of like, oh, this is the part where you need the ice flower. Similar to how, oh, this is a water area in a Pikmin game. You need the blue Pikmin for that. And like, then you get the Boo Mushroom, which is an interesting power up, but you only get it in like one level in Galaxy 2. And like, I don't really think it gets used super a lot in Galaxy 1 even. And you also have the Spring Mushroom, which, I'm not gonna give it too much flack. I think that the idea behind it is fun, where you get to like jump way higher, but the fact that you can't stop really does kind of drag it back a bit. And then you get the bee mushroom where you have the limited flight, or the red star where you just get full on flight, and it's like that's cool, but you only get to use it in one actual mission. Otherwise, it's useful for traveling around the observatory, but the observatory isn't like the biggest hub ever, so it's not like it's just like Galaxy 2 had a way stronger handle on the power ups that you get in that game. And otherwise, like, Galaxy 1 has better boss fights with Bowser, I would say, because, like, in every encounter with Bowser, you get more moves, and the fight just feels different, more different because of those moves rather than the Galaxy 2 Bowser fights where, you just, well, he will still get new moves in each of the fights, but it doesn't really feel as impactful because like now he can do a fire breath, or now he can have energy waves come off of his punches, and it's like, okay, sure, but like it's still just punches and the fire breath. So like the Bowser Jr. fights are better in Galaxy 2 though, because like you get two fights with giant mechs where you have to like use your power ups, and then there's also the Gobble Guy encounter, which is basically the stand-in for like how one of the Bowser Jr. fights in Galaxy 1 is bringing back King Caliente, but thankfully they made the fight where you're fighting an enemy that gets sent after you as the first one instead of the last one, where it's like, okay, why is one of the earliest fights in the game here as not a very much more difficult fight? Because like overall, the boss fights in both of these games are very well designed, I would say. Like, yeah, none of them are very hard, but like, they're just fun to learn their patterns and then go after them. But yeah, like the games the games feel good to play, maybe a bit slow, but like, again, that helps with Galaxy 1 feeling like because Galaxy 1, where I am now as someone who's actually good at video games, like it's a nice, chill, easygoing 3D platformer where it's very well designed, but it's also real. It's also pretty easy to play and just have a good time with. And the same extends to Galaxy 2. Like, sure, it has a bit more challenge to it in comparison, but like nowadays, like I can get through both games pretty easily. And, on Switch 2, they look really nice. You know, it's they're just two of the best platformers, and all I can do is ramble this nonsense off. And here's an addendum. I watched the Super Mario Galaxy movie, or not the Super Mario Galaxy movie. I watched the Super Mario Brothers movie in preparation for the Galaxy movie with my dad the other day, and we had fun with it. It's just like a fun movie. Like, yeah, the pacing could be better, or like they could give us a bit more time to breathe, But like, you know, I think that like the movie is just a fun time, and obviously has Donkey Kong in it, so I'm obviously going to give it higher marks because it has Donkey Kong there. But no, I think that like in genuine talking point, like I think that how they use Donkey Kong in that movie is really fun. It's not my ideal way to characterize Donkey Kong. I think that the best way that they've ever characterized Donkey Kong is in Bonanza, but like what they do with Donkey Kong, where he starts off as like a really smug rival to Mario before he and Mario become like friendly rivals. It's a fun dynamic that plays out. It's weird though that Mario and Donkey Kong get like the character arc to go through rather than Mario and Luigi. And like, I'm glad that they're showing that Luigi's going to be more present alongside Mario because I like their dynamic in the movie whenever they get to interact, which is not very much. So like, the Galaxy movie is definitely going to fix that, hopefully, from what we've seen anyway. But like, yeah, there's just not a lot to say. It's just a fun movie because like, it's just bunch of weird, goofy, dumb at times jokes, but like dumb in the way where it's like or you groan laugh. It's like just a cheesy like there's some cheesy jokes. There's some funny, genuinely funny moments. Like it's just a fun movie, and yeah, like they go for a lot of references, but like I don't care. A lot of it's like just small blink and you'll miss a cameo. It's like, oh wow, we see Tostarena that's coming back in the Galaxy movie, but like it's just it's not really distracting with seeing all these references and like if anything that just feels like what the Mario world would be in the games where like all of these power-ups don't just exist self-contained in their games like Mario could just randomly and in Odyssey find a Tanuki leaf, or at least that's how it feels like. Like so, yeah, all the references are fun and innocuous enough, in my opinion. Like the story is funny enough for Mario, and you know, like yeah, it's not this grand narrative, but like that's just not Mario's thing. That's not how they do Mario. So I wouldn't have ever expected them to do something like that. But like, yeah, we enjoyed watching the movie together. I had watched it before, and like, yeah, the Super Mario Brothers movie is just like a fun time. It's it's just like it's just a nice, fun, get some popcorn movie. Because like, yeah, there's just not a lot I can say about the Galaxy movie, but yeah, I played the Galaxy games. I watched the Mario Brothers movie because I keep messing them up because the Galaxy movie is on the way so soon. That's kind of on the brain lately. Like Mario Mario is a fun franchise and Mario is getting plenty of good stuff going recently. So, yeah, that's about all I got for this one. See you with another one, which, hopefully I will record sooner after I'm done with what I'm doing next. And, just for, uh, I mean, I guess I can say it right now because I'm not like trying to hide what I'm doing. I think I might wait until I'm done with Pokemon Legends EA and do another one of my double up videos talking about Poker Night in the Inventory and Pokemon Legends EA because those are two things I've done lately. But, maybe I will do a separate video for Poker Night. Maybe I'll wait. I don't know, but like that's what I've been doing and what I'll talk about next time. So see you next time.